Well, good morning to the West Coast and good afternoon to the East Coast and good day to everyone else. My name is Brad Etheridge and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for the Center for Tax Strategies and Resources. Glad you're able to join us here today. We've got a really fun topic that is very relevant in financial services today, and we have a national expert with us. I'll introduce you to Harlan in just a moment or two, but I want to tell you a little bit about the center. What we're not is we're not an IMO, we're not a broker dealer. We are a membership organization. We provide education, services, tools, connections, relationships, access to the top people in financial services industry, all of which is designed to increase our members' practice revenue substantially. And how we do that is through a huge amount of training material that we've produced that our members have access to exclusively. We do it through monthly webinar trainings that we do with our members. We do it through one-on-one coaching calls that we do with our members. And the end result is our members do substantially better year after year by becoming part of our group. And they pay dues for those group, and I'll fill you in a little bit more on that as we move on through the program. For those of you that have not been on any type of virtual meeting in the last year and a half, where have you been? All right, that's all I need to say about that. In regards to the event today, we're going to be together for about 45 minutes to an hour. Right now, I'd like to introduce the founder of the Center for Tax Strategies and Resources, Simon Singer. For those of you that don't know Simon, he's been successfully in our industry since 1966. In fact, he's in the top 1/10% of all financial advisors in the U.S. He's written several business bestsellers. He is quite the sought-after speaker. He is the coach's coach. And he also has been members and led some very prestigious industry groups such as Advisors in Philanthropy, and is the past president of the International Forum and is the National Humanitarian Award winner. So that's Simon. And then Harlan Accola is our special guest today on the broadcast. Harlan is the National Reverse Mortgage Director for Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Now, the good news is, Harlan, I have known you, it's been about 5 or 6 years. I love it. You did some stuff back years ago for us in New York that went really, really well. I have never met anybody who knows more about their specific area of expertise. A lot of people may think they know about reverse mortgages, but Harlan in particular works almost exclusively with financial advisors. So you're going to get that spin on how this thing can be part of a very strong planning protocol for your clients. He has done over 1,000 reverse mortgages, primarily with the 62 and up market, but he's going to talk about something that he has in addition to that today also. And he's written a very successful book on the reverse mortgage called The Cinderella of the Boomer's Retirement, which that book did really, really well. Amongst other things, and speaking across the country, we're very honored to have you with us here today, Harlan, and have you as part of our faculty at the Center for Tax Strategies and Resources. Harlan, I'm going to turn the controls over to you.
Well, thrilled to be here, Brad and Simon. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be of help to your members, and I promise this is going to be exciting and perhaps even a little bit what would I say, quite frankly, controversial. And so by all means, we're going to make sure that we have some fun over the next while. As we mentioned, quite frankly, this is a very controversial topic. The vast majority of financial planners are going to immediately tune this out. So don't hang up, don't click your computer off at this point and say, I don't have any need for that because all of my clients have money and this is a rip-off deal and it's a loan of last resort and it's for poor people and for people that aren't very smart and all that sort of thing. I want to tell you that based on research that's been done in your industry, not in ours, in your industry by top financial advisors, researchers, MBAs, PhDs, FSAs across the country, without question, by far, you are looking at a situation where 95% of the people over the age of 62 are the people that should be getting a reverse mortgage. And a couple of things clicked off here, so hopefully we are back on. Okay.
Yep,
We okay with the screen?
I think you're good right now.
Thank you. Okay, so bottom line is that this is something that 95% of your clients over the age of 62, and even many under the age of 62, if they understood this, would have a better retirement. And it's not a situation where they have to do this or they need to do this. I'm 61. The day I turn 62 next April, I'm doing a reverse mortgage. I don't need one. I have more than enough money in cash value life insurance and some AUMs, and I'm still working and I have plenty of cash flow. I don't need a reverse mortgage. I want one for tax purposes and to have a better retirement, a better and more efficient way to make my assets work. So just right now, take the idea that this is for people that are broke, that people should only get this when their retirement car is smoking on the side of the road, and take a look at this from a whole new perspective. I read a book a number of years ago called Don't Believe Everything You Think. And I implore you, as we go through this is very counterintuitive stuff. And a lot of financial planners will not take the time to learn this stuff because it's just easier to do things the way we've always done them. I caution you not to think that way when it comes to this, because people like Dr. Wade Pfau, who have done an incredible amount of research on life insurance, annuities, and reverse mortgages, three things that a lot of people don't like in retirement that are incredible value in retirement, unfortunately have got a bad name. And a lot of people say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to mess with annuities. I don't like annuities. I don't like cash value life insurance. I heard that's bad. Listen to Dave Ramsey, heard reverse mortgages are bad, and completely put out. Yet Wade Pfau said, use strategically, a reverse mortgage can dramatically increase the sustainability of your retirement income. And he wrote a whole book on it. This guy is a PhD. He's the professor of retirement income. So this isn't some guy that just, got paid some money to say some things. He's done a bunch of solid research and wrote 2 books on reverse mortgages. Jamie Hopkins, an attorney, specifically wrote some information just a few years ago and specifically said in an article in Investment News, as an attorney, said this: despite substantial improvements over the past 5 years, the vast majority of financial services professionals still fail to incorporate home equity planning or reverse mortgages into their practices. And yes, this is a failure. In my opinion, not mine, this is Jamie Hopkins, the attorney, not including home equity and reverse mortgages in the financial planning process is the largest failure of the financial services profession at this time. Whoa. This is Jamie Hopkins, somebody in your industry, an attorney, works for Carson Wealth, used to work for, he founded the RICP program with Dr. Wade Pfau and at the American College. So if this is the case, why don't people like reverse mortgages? Well, primarily for 4 reasons. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I can tell you why they don't like them. It boils down to 4 things. We call it life or leaf. It doesn't make any difference. LEIF, LIFE. Loss of equity. People don't want to lose. They don't want to lose their house. They don't want to lose their equity. They don't want to lose control. In reality, this dramatically increases your control, increases your ability to make more money in different areas. And then they say, oh, I heard these things are expensive. That's like saying life insurance or annuities or real estate agents or whatever are expensive. Compared to what? Compared to a CD? Does life insurance cost more than a CD? Of course. Does it worth more? Does it do more? Obviously. So it's not expensive. There's more costs involved with a reverse mortgage than a traditional forward mortgage, but that doesn't make it something that doesn't make sense, because we look at the value compared to price. And then everybody worries about, well, the inheritance, this is going to screw my kids and rip them off, and this is a bad deal for my kids. It might be okay for me, but it's a bad deal for my kids. The fascinating thing is my kids are excited about me doing a reverse mortgage. I have 4 sons. They're thrilled that I'm doing a reverse mortgage because they know that they are going to have a larger inheritance if I do a reverse mortgage than if I don't. Why don't more kids know that? Why don't more financial advisors know that? I'm going to delve into that specifically of why the people that do reverse mortgages, wealthy people, or people that are the mass affluent, as we refer to them as, why do those kids, why is the inheritance larger and the net worth larger with people that do reverse mortgages at the age of 62? Because they are better utilizing all of their assets. And then some people are just afraid. It's like the bear in the closet. I wrote a whole chapter in my book on that people are afraid of something. I was afraid of the bear in the closet when my dad snored at our farmhouse when I was growing up. There was no bear in the closet, but I thought there was. There's all kinds of people that think there's a bear in the closet that's going to come out and eat them if they get a reverse mortgage. And it's just bad, and they don't know exactly what it is, but there's just something about it that's bad, when that's not really true. Now, as a financial advisor, I am batting 1,000 on this, and I've talked to tens of thousands of people over the last 18 years about reverse mortgages, and I have a perfect track record on this slide. I want to know if any of you have ever seen, I'll let you take a plaque on a casket, engraving on a cremation urn, or on a tombstone. Has anybody seen this?
No.
Paid off home. I died with $348,000 in home equity at death. Has anybody seen that? Do I still have a perfect track record? So why does everybody live like that's the goal? You don't win the game by dying with the most home equity. That's not how you win the financial planning game. That is not how you win any game. It's saying, well, I died and my house was paid off free and clear, and I'm so glad that I gave $348,000 in home equity to my kids. You know what a lot better thing to give to your kids are? Life insurance. I mean, quite frankly, my kids are going to get a big check within a month after I die, tax-free, from my life insurance policies, my permanent life insurance policies, because that's how I choose to pass on legacy instead of trying to pass it on through my house. Whatever money is left in my house, they'll get that too. But let's not, you know, a great book that was written, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, that many of us have read. One of the successful habits is begin with the end in mind. Is your goal to die with the most equity in your house? If it is, you should not do a reverse mortgage. But I'm going to tell you that within the 40 minutes that we have together, you are going to change your mind as to whether or not that's the goal, because it really doesn't make sense. Now, I'm not going to spend much time on this because you guys know about the statistics. We're in deep trouble as far as the baby boomers are concerned. 10,000 people a day hitting 62, 4,400 of them are still making a mortgage payment. Article just came out last week. 1 million people over the age of 62 are in danger of not making their mortgage payments within the next 6 months. 1 million people after this whole eviction thing ended. 1 million people over the age of 62 don't know if, excuse me, if they can make their next payment. And you say, well, Harlan, I'm not worried about that because I'm dealing with the people that have money. So I'm not concerned about that because I've got people that have got pensions, and I've got people that have got a lot of money in AUMs and in life insurance and everything else, so I'm okay. Well, I want you to know that taxes are going to go up for all of your clients, and probably go up a lot, because we're dealing with at least 50% of the people that are not prepared for retirement. So the government takes from the people that have money to give to the people that don't have money. They'll figure out a way one way or another. So we're dealing in a pretty much a perfect storm. Lower savings rate. My dad retired in 1981. When was there an easier way to retire? I mean, CDs were paying 15%. It didn't take a lot of understanding of financial planning to get somebody that retired in 81 through their retirement, because they were doing very well on fixed income, and bond funds were paying over 20%. Well, now you're not going to get 1.5% probably on your fixed income investment. So very different world. We got a lower savings rate, we got fewer pensions, we got pressure on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, high medical costs, more long-term care issues, people living longer. I don't have to go into more details. You guys know what the problem is. So in all of this, what's the solution? Well, this slide is out of date because within the last year and a half, we have $9 trillion in seniors equity. $9 trillion is sitting in seniors equity. I just did a presentation for an FPA group in Kansas City last week. And I got up and I said, hi, I'm Harlan Accola. I'm with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and we have $9.2 trillion of assets under management. And everybody looked at me like, who is this guy? What do you mean 9.2 trillion? Fidelity and Vanguard don't have that much. The fact is that's how much money is sitting in seniors' houses over the age of 62, home equity that is worthless and doing absolutely nothing for their retirement except having them avoid a mortgage payment. So that brings up a great question. Is those people's houses, that 9.2 trillion, is that in a good place? If you look at that little bitty question, it has huge, huge implication. Is your home a good investment? I just talked to somebody in California who didn't save the other money that they should have. And they have, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 left to their name. And they've got a $1.4 million house. And I said, what's the best investment you ever made? And they said, well, obviously our house. First of all, we still have it. It's a place to live. And we only owe $300,000 on a $1.4 million house. And I said, oh, so you guys are millionaires. And they said, well, we sure don't feel like it. Sometimes we don't go out to eat. We don't go on as many vacations. We don't buy as many Christmas presents for our kids. I mean, we're pretty tight. And I said, well, why is that? And they said, well, because we've got a $2,000 a month payment on our $300,000 mortgage, and we've got a $20,000 roof that needs to be replaced, and we have $5,000 a year in taxes. And it just seems that we don't have enough money and we're working part-time jobs and everything else. And I said, so you really don't feel like millionaires? No, because all the home equity is worthless to them. In fact, they're still piling money into that. So is your home a good investment? People say, well, it's a good investment if you made money, but is that a good investment for you or for your kids? So think about what home equity is. Would you tell your client to invest money into an illiquid asset that will never give you more than a 3% rate of return? Not a chance. You would tell your clients, well, that doesn't make sense. You're in retirement. You should not have an illiquid asset that will never give you more than a 3% rate of return. You say, whoa, just a minute, Harlan. Real estate goes up more than 3%. I'm not talking about the real estate value. Your real estate value will go up whether or not your home is leveraged. The only thing that you will save by paying off your loan is 3%, because that's the cost of money on a 30-year fixed rate on a forward mortgage. And so if you pay off your 30-year fixed rate, some of them are 2.75, 15 years, or sometimes around 1.9 or 2%, that's all you save. So why would you continue to shovel money? People come up to me at a cocktail party or a wedding or birthday party and they elbow me and they say, we don't need you guys anymore. All done with you mortgage people. Our house is paid off. It's free and clear. And I always say the same thing to those people. I'm sorry to hear that. Not because I'm being rude or obnoxious or making fun of them or trying to be funny. I'm sorry to hear that you've taken 500,000, a million, 200,000, 700,000, whatever the value of your house is, and you've stuck it into an investment that is illiquid, that will never pay you more than a 3% rate of return that will be given to your kids when you die. Does that really make sense? Should we tell people to do that? I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you've got $1 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is. Why are you sticking money into an illiquid asset? Dave Ramsey brags that he's got his $8 million house in Brentwood, Tennessee paid off. What kind of return is that giving him? Nothing. He can talk about it and brag about it, but it's giving a 0% rate of return. I guess if you're Dave Ramsey and you can sell all the things that you do to people and through the churches and how to get out of debt and so on and so forth, you don't really care. But for the average person, the mass affluent, it doesn't make sense to have all this money stuck in their house. In fact, some people have more money in their house. A lot of people have more money in their house than they have in life insurance, investment, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, IRAs, anything else. So let's talk about this whole life cycle of money. And now beware, because you're going to think, Harlan, this is a little basic. We're financial planners. We got 20, 30, 40 years of experience, and we don't really need you to, go over the basics with us. Well, I kind of do, so it makes sense. So bear with me for the next 5 minutes. Everybody's got 3 buckets of wealth who owns a house. Bucket number 1 is the client's bucket. Bucket number two is your bucket that you manage, and bucket 3 is the bucket that we manage at Fairway. And at Fairway, all we do is mortgages, forward mortgages, reverse mortgages, VA mortgages, reverse mortgages, FHA, everything in between. So we do not do any financial advising in bucket 2. That's why we need to work with people like you, because we can't do anything with bucket 2. We don't sell life insurance. We're not like Wells Fargo. We don't have wealth managers. Our people only are allowed to sell one thing, and that's mortgages. And we're very, very good at it. That's what we specialize in. So let's take a look at the life cycle of money. And the top rectangle is your pre-retirement wallet. The bottom rectangle is your post-retirement wallet, the accumulation phase and the decumulation phase, which you're very familiar with. So during my lifetime, my clients during their lifetime, they're making a whole bunch of money in bucket 1, and it's all going up to that top wallet. And most of it evaporates right off the top. And people spend money on food and clothes and something called the cost of living. I saw a sign outside a church a long time ago that said the cost of living is high, but is still extremely profitable or extremely popular. So the fact is that you need money to live. So most of that evaporates right off the top because of the cost of living. But you try to save maybe 5%, maybe 10%. Most people only save 5 or 10%. Some people save as much as 20%, but that's more rare. Most people just give you 5, 10% of their income. But think about how much money people give us. They give us a ton of money. In fact, right now, their debt ratios are averaging, with the high price of houses, 25 to 40% is the amount of money that they're giving to us. They're giving us a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars, trillions in our industry every single year. And because of that, there's $9.2 trillion in equity just of the people over 62 that are in pre-retirement or retirement at this point. That's a lot of money. And you guys should try that, by the way. The way we get that much money is we threaten people. And we tell them, if you don't pay by the 15th of the month, if you don't invest in our in the money that we ask for monthly, by the 15th of the month, we're going to send you a late fee. And if you don't do it for 3 or 4 or 5 months, depending upon what state you're in, we will foreclose on you and we'll take your investment away and we will kick you out of your house and you will be homeless. That is powerful motivation for people to invest money into bucket 3. And you say, well, Harlan, be realistic. They're not investing money into bucket 3. They're paying for a roof over their heads. Well, yes, that's true. But would anybody invest money into a roof over their head if the value of homes didn't go up? If values of homes went down like cars, how much money would people really invest? Would they put $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars into bucket 3 if they knew that their value of their house was going to go down? Probably not. So it's an investment and a place to live. So they are investing money in the hopes that the value of their homes go up. Otherwise, they would just rent an apartment and put that money into an apartment. So now let's fast forward. We get to the post-retirement wallet on the bottom. And maybe my income goes down because I'm retiring or I can't work anymore or COVID came in and eliminated my job or whatever the situation is. So I'm in retirement and I come to my financial advisor and I say, hey, I want some of the money back that you gave me. I put money in my 401k and my IRAs and my life insurance cash value and I'd like some of it back. What if you told them, oh no, Harlan, that's not for you. That's for your kids. You just keep putting money in there. And then when you die, we'll send the money to your kids. How long would you keep your clients if you told them that when they were 62 or 65 or 75? If they asked for their money back that they gave you for the last 20, 30, 40 years, you would lose a lot of clients. But guess what? In bucket 3, people don't even come to us asking for their money back. In fact, they get upset when we offer it back. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Retiree, would you like some of your money back? You've given us $500,000, $600,000 over your lifetime. You poured money in from that top pre-retirement wallet, and now we'll give you some of it back in the form of a reverse mortgage. Would you like that? It's only cost you 3% to take the money back. And they say, no, that's for my kids. Stay away. I can't believe you brought that up. Now, we must think about housing. And I've done a ton of research on this and talked to people that are way smarter than I am, which is not hard to find, my wife says, but I've talked to a lot of super smart people in the financial planning world. And they know that there is not enough money in bucket 2 to get the baby boomers through the next 20, 30, 40 years. It will not work as we go into the 80s, the 90s, and 100 years old. It's not going to happen. But we can do it if we enlist bucket 3. Nobody wants to use bucket 3, but that is the Cinderella of the baby boomer retirement. Cinderella was not invited to the ball. We are not invited to the ball. All kinds of financial planners. No, we don't use reverse mortgages. I walked into a financial planner's office in one of our loan officers' office buildings and just knocked on his door and said, hey, I'm working with Michael today. He's just down the hall. And I've seen him and we're actually doing a seminar this afternoon about reverse mortgages. Would you like to come? No, I'm not really interested in that. And he turned around and knocked on his credenza and he said, knock on wood, I sure hope none of my clients are ever going to need one of those. Really? Well, I hope none of my clients ever need a 401k. I hope they don't need the cash value out of their life insurance. I hope they never use any of the money that they put away for the future. Really? Does that really make sense? I mean, think about that for a minute. Does that make sense that we put money into an illiquid asset that earns less than a 3% rate of return and we can pull it out for 3%, but we don't want to? That is a huge problem in our mental thinking in the culture of our entire country. I went to mortgage burning parties when I remember the first one when I was 8 years old. And I grew up in a farm in Wisconsin, central Wisconsin, and my dad took me to a mortgage burning party. And that's the first I learned about mortgages. I thought, boy, these things are awful. I mean, everybody, they burn them on the barbecue grill as we're drinking beer and having brats and cheese curds in Wisconsin. And they're burning the mortgage and everybody's cheering. I mean, this must be something you get rid of. And then I remember my dad later talking about the neighbors who got a second mortgage and they must be close to bankruptcy. So we've been brought up by Depression era parents as baby boomers to hate mortgages. And then we hear stuff from Dave Ramsey and other people like that, and we got to get rid of mortgages. We hate them. We just got to be debt free. Is Apple debt free? Did you know that like 95% of the Fortune 500 companies have debt? Because they use that money to make more money. You've heard of other people's money, borrowing money, leverage. Lever is one of the oldest tools known to man, and debt is nothing more than leverage properly used. So why can't I pull money out of bucket 3, just like I pull money out of bucket 2, just like I pull money out of my Social Security or my pensions out of bucket 1? What's the difference? The difference is psychological. If I'm sitting there in my post-retirement wallet on the bottom of the screen and I'm pulling money out of any bucket, why would I not pull money out of bucket 3 when there is an FHA government regulated program? Some people say it's a scam. Well, it's a government regulated scam, and it's something that has a 95% satisfaction rate amongst the people that get through all the noise to get one of them. And they're people like me and my parents and my wife's parents and my sister and people in our church and friends and relatives that have got these mortgages and swear by them because they can let all of their money in bucket 2 last longer. They can maybe delay drawing Social Security. Maybe they can take a situation where their 401k grows more so that they can pull money from bucket 3 instead of bucket 2. Now understand, from a regulation standpoint, this is not about pulling money out of bucket 3 and making money in bucket 2 with arbitrage. That's not what this is about, and you're going to run into all kinds of problems from a compliance situation. What we do has nothing to do with dangers in compliance. We've got like 17 attorneys on staff at Fairway. We do 80. We'll be doing over 80 billion in mortgages this year. Do we want to get in trouble? Of course not. So we're not going to be preaching this stuff. Everything I'm talking about is facts that came from your industry and that have been improved by our attorneys. So this isn't stuff that I just came up to sell a great sales pitch to sell reverse mortgages. We need to think differently about the wealth that we have in our homes, because you can't ignore a $9.2 trillion asset class when you're doing planning. So are you only going to look at assets in bucket 1 and bucket 2, and you're going to ignore a $9.2 trillion asset class that your clients own, that they've got $1 million paid off house? I just worked with a physician that's retired, a single lady in Oklahoma, $1 million paid off house in bucket 3, $4 million in a rollover 401k, no life insurance, no long-term care. Working together with her financial advisor, we were able to do Roth conversions, take care of her long-term care issues, take care of her inheritance for the kids, and put everything together and save her hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes, because we used a reverse mortgage to pay for the Roth conversion taxes so we could put more money into bucket 2 that was getting her a 5, 6, 7, 8% return instead of putting money into bucket 3 or leaving the money in bucket 3, which only costs us 3%. So all kinds of solutions like that. But we've got to think about it in terms of an asset class, not a house. Is there any danger of losing the house? Not if you pay your taxes and your insurance, because this is a loan that is not due until a year after you're dead. That's what's very important. So I'll come back to this 3 buckets again, but I just want to make sure that you understand some of the basics. Some people don't know what the basics are with Social Security. And Brad, Simon, if there's any questions that you've got that I should stop on and make sure I clarify, don't hesitate to interrupt me.
No, I will. I'm going to jump in because I had heard a really interesting presentation about Roth conversion done over a 5 or 10 year period and using the reverse mortgage dollars, obviously, to offset the taxes. And I thought it was a very elegant solution. When you're talking about $9.3 trillion, it is ridiculous that that's an asset class that's left ignored. It's mind-boggling to think that that's out there not being used. But as you know, Harlan, there has been so much negative said about this structure and strategy by people who obviously were trying to figure out how to quick turn reverse mortgage dollars into product sales. And if it's done properly, it makes a huge difference in getting people to their goals quicker and with less risk. So there's no doubt about that. Simon, you want to jump in because I want to talk a little bit, real quick about the Academy. But go ahead if you had something you wanted to add.
Well, I think Harlan said it earlier with regard to it's a psychological issue, not a financial issue. Really and that if people understood that doing something like a Roth conversion or a conversion to a Roth lookalike life insurance, figuring out ways to not have to pay tax on your qualified plan money, pay tax on your qualified plan money, but do it with debt equity, the equity sitting in your house. I had never really given that any thought, and that makes perfect sense. But Harlan, I'm hoping that when we come back, you'll talk a bit about the broker-dealer positioning and the fear that financial planners have that if they violate those edicts that they could be out of business. Because that would be something that would concern me, and I'm sure it's going to concern the rest of our audience. So if you'll join us at the Center Academy, here's the investment that you need to make. CTSR member, Center for Tax Strategies and Resources member, pay $495 to attend this event. There's some time frames involved with that, and that number goes up. The non-members pay $645. If you decide that you're going to join while you're at the event, we'll refund that extra $150 to you. For more information, call 877-258-2837, or you can email the center team at yourctsr.com. The center team at yourctsr.com. You can go to the website if you want to register. It's www.yourctsr.com. Under the upcoming events tab, you can click on it, and hopefully we'll see you in a month.
Simon, how many hours of total training? I know you were just running through the schedule yesterday. How many hours of total training do we have in the event?
It's actually 21 hours for the general public, and there's another 3 or 4 breakout sessions for the members. But we've got, I think it's 4 tax attorneys speaking, 2 CPAs, some industry leaders in both assets under management and life insurance. They think a little bit differently because they've got the same products, they've got the same tax law, they've got the same strategies, and yet they get 10 to 100 times more annual revenue. And you're going to learn a lot about the intangibles of the sales process also, things that just aren't taught in our industry any longer. People like Harlan are going to be there showing us helping us understand some things that perhaps we didn't understand or we misunderstood. We've got a tax attorney that's going to be talking about putting together what we call tax reduction plans for small business owners. It is going to be the best 3 days of content that you'll have ever spent in our industry. There's not even anything that's even close.
Agreed, and we've got some pretty high-profile speakers too, along with that. We will have special guest stars. Ed Slott is going to be attending the event as part of our faculty for the event. Paul Cella, who's an expert in providing financial consulting services to physicians. He also has unbelievable group disability programs. Vince DeDonna, the all-time leader of Guardian Life. I won't read through all of them, but Walt Dallas is an expert in tax reduction plans. He's a tax attorney. He and his group do tax reviews for our members, clients. Come back in and tell them how much they're missing or how much they're paying on unnecessary taxes. You got Bruce Givner, who is, I think, the smartest tax attorney in the United States, who is a permanent faculty member with the center. Rick J., who is an expert in ESOP program, employee savings programs. Kevin Knevel, the expert utilizing social media, or what he calls the world's biggest Rolodex. David McKnight, who's the author of Power of Zero. Dr. Vicki Rackner, who is a retired surgeon who will show you how to bring the medical market into your practice. Ed Slott, as I mentioned. Dan Zeppelin, who has a unique senior settlement expert program where he puts senior policies up to a bid process. We've got Simon's Dog's Tail that will be there at the event too, so we'll make sure you see the new pup. It's an amazing 3 days. You will guaranteed get your money back out of it. In fact, if you attend the event and you feel like it wasn't of value, let me know. I'm more than happy to refund your charges, because I've never had it happen in all the years that we put the programs together. So anyway, that's coming up. So we'll give you a little more information on the end, but I'd like to kind of kick it back here to Harlan, and we'll let you kind of continue from where you were, Harlan. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you. I'm excited because, I'm going to learn more than what I can teach there. So that's going to be exciting for me to be able to be there. That's pretty cool.
So do we. We actually learn more than most of the attendees do, even if it's remembering stuff that we used to do that we stopped doing.
Sure.
Not atypical of people in our industry. Something is working, so I think I'll try something else. But this whole thing of being able to educate yourself, the education that tax attorneys and CPAs have given me have resulted in strategic alliances with incredibly high-level people far more intelligent than I am. But maybe I've got a skill set in being able to communicate a bit better. but it is a monstrous leap in people's careers. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because it is the way we feel as well.
Well, and the cool thing is, a lot of the people you mentioned, Ed Slott read my book. I've shared the stage with him a number of times. David McKnight, I was at a seminar with him. David McKnight was relatively, I would say, negative about reverse mortgage. It wasn't that he was neutral, he was negative. And we talked a couple of years ago, and he said, wow, I did not realize. And he had me on his podcast a year or so ago, specifically about that, and we have him do speaking at some of our events as well. And so, realize, I want to reiterate again, when we're talking about the synergy between bucket 2 and bucket 3, this is something that we did not cook this stuff up to sell reverse mortgages. We cooked this up to change the way retirement is done in this country, based on people like Slott and people like Barry Sachs and Texas Tech University and Boston College for Retirement Research and Harold Levinsky and the people that have already, like for example, Texas Tech University, John Salter and Harold Levinsky did a ton of research, published articles in as late as, or as early as 2012 in the Journal of Financial Planning. This stuff should be mainstream, and it's not, because people are still trying to pigeonhole the reverse mortgage as something that you use as a last resort. I was just talking to an attorney last week, and I said, what do you know about reverse mortgages? I know quite a bit about them. I said, when would you use them? And he said, only as a last resort, when people have no other options. He has no clue about the research that's been done, which is
Harlan,
amazing.
You know what's interesting is, what I'm getting out of this conversation is the fact that a reverse mortgage gives me an opportunity to spend money that would otherwise have gone in taxes, to spend equity that I'm never going to have any use of, other than the psychological aspect of, quote, my home is paid for. But I've told people for years that using debt, I mean, that's the way they bought their house to begin with, by using somebody else's money. And using debt to enhance what otherwise might be an acceptable retirement, as opposed to a very enjoyable retirement, is an interesting concept. And there's plenty of ways to replace the asset for my children, if that's one of my objectives. One of those ways could be a reverse mortgage. Could be a Roth conversion. One of those ways could be a life insurance policy. There's lots of ways to be able to do that. I've never given that any thought.
No, exactly. And everybody on this call can answer this question. I just bought my retirement house last year, and I plan on being here until I pass away, and maybe, or at least for 10 years. Some people move every 5 to 10 years, and that's okay. You can do a reverse mortgage then too. 3 years is kind of the break-even point. But the bottom line is if I ask you, should I continue to put, I've got 29 years left on my mortgage that I couldn't get a reverse because I was 60 when I bought the house. So now when I'm 62, should I continue to pay $3,500 for the next 28, 29 years, or every month? Or do you guys have a better place for me to put $35,000 to $40,000 a year that will net me more than 3%? I don't think there's really any question about that. I mean, I know I can give my kids a bigger inheritance if I just put in life insurance. And so, and then there's annuities, and there's, the assets under management, all kinds of things of what can be done where that cash flow goes. Now, let me address Simon's concern about, which a lot of people have concern about when it comes to broker dealers and people that, when I did my last life insurance, I buy new policies all the time. When I did my last, so by the way, I practice these things. I'm the best life insurance salesperson you're ever going to run into who doesn't get paid for it and is an unlicensed. I just talk about it and then I send them over to you guys. But the bottom line is, I was just doing my life insurance, and one of the first questions was, is the money for this policy coming from a reverse mortgage? Because they are terribly concerned that agents are going to go out and tell people to mortgage their house to be able to put it into bucket 2. It's not what this is about. And we do not advocate that. And we tell people up front, you do not see an arrow going from 3 to 2. This is something that is down there. Does it come indirectly if I stop making a mortgage payment? Sure. If I start going to work or making more money at work, or I eliminate my car payment or whatever, do I have more cash flow so that I could put more money into bucket 2? Of course. So the issue is that Dr. Barry Sachs, Jamie Hopkins, the folks at American College have specifically laid this out as to what is correct as far as FINRA is concerned, as far as the liabilities with broker dealers. And as Jamie Hopkins specifically entitled this article, financial advisors should avoid error by omission and consider reverse mortgages. He envisions a time in the future where advisors and companies are going to get sued for not telling their clients that there is an absolute government safe place to get money with zero risk as long as you pay your taxes and your homeowner's insurance. That's it.
Harlan, that's already happened. It hasn't necessarily happened with reverse mortgages, but it has happened with actually a couple of friends of mine 20 some years ago. They sold a large life insurance policy to somebody in Tennessee and didn't talk to them about disability insurance. And the individual became disabled and won a lawsuit and won $1 million out of their pockets in order to pay for information. It was an error of omission as opposed to an error of commission. So that's not unreasonable, and we're in a litigious world.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said that more clear. And in fact, Jamie mentioned later in the article about people not talking about long-term care insurance because they didn't sell it.
So Harlan, you mentioned the American College. I've never heard that. Is there some article around that's available that you could make available to us that is quoting the American College or is written in one of their documents and something that we can share with our members?
Absolutely, and I can do better than that. I can give you the article specifically that Wade Pfau has written, Barry Sachs, and Jamie Hopkins, all as part of the American College program. And the issue is that not only will I do that, if any broker dealer says we're not going to do it, I will pay for, our company will pay for them to talk to Barry Sachs, Wade Pfau, any of those people that specifically have been dealing with this and especially Jamie Hopkins, because he's an attorney in LLM, that can talk to them about the dangers of not allowing their people to talk about reverse mortgages. What if I came to my advisor and I said, hey, I want to know whether or not I should do a reverse mortgage because I've heard some stuff about it. I saw this guy on TV named Tom Selleck, and I'm kind of curious, will this work with my plan? And the advisor says, I'm sorry, I can't talk about that. Do you know what FINRA says? FINRA says to talk to a financial professional, a trusted financial advisor about how reverse mortgages should be used. Oh, FINRA themselves are telling people to go talk to a financial advisor, and if the financial advisor either won't talk about it or doesn't have the knowledge, is that a fiduciary? Is that somebody that's doing holistic financial planning? I doubt it. And so I don't want to be hard on all the financial advisors on this call and become unpopular, but if you don't know about this stuff, and it's already been published in the Journal of Financial Planning and peer-reviewed articles, and books have been written by Ed Slott and Jamie Hopkins and Boston College, Falling Short, and all of these books, and you don't know about any of this stuff, that's kind of a dereliction of duty. You should know about this stuff. If it's published and it's out there.
It's definitely an error of omission. Hey, by the way, your screen is blank right now, so I don't know how to.
Wow.
No, we can see you, Harlan. We just can't see any of the slide that should be up.
Okay, it says that it's being shown, but let's see what is up there. And because we want people to see the slide, not me. Okay, let's see if this will do it right here. And I'll flip back and forth here.
There you go.
It's up there now.
It's up there now, but it's small.
And I will make it big and
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
It'd only be that easy. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so I can talk about this for a long time. So when's my stop date, Brad? You tell me when, how much time I got left, and I'll tailor.
Got about 10 minutes left.
Awesome. Okay, that'll be perfect. And we'll go over it from there. Now think about this for a minute. If we went to Las Vegas and we saw a casino that had a big sign up there, and the sign said, you are guaranteed not to lose. We won't guarantee that you're going to win, but you're guaranteed not to lose. How many of us would go to that casino? Like all of us, because hey, I'm not even into gambling and I'd go. I mean, if you're guaranteed not to lose. That's what the deal is with a reverse mortgage. When it came in 1988, during Ronald Reagan's time period in office, the housing situation said, hey, we want to give people access to their house because otherwise it's an illiquid asset. So let's give them the opportunity. So they said, first of all, you got to be 62. It's got to be an FHA qualified home, Federal Housing Administration, which means no single wides. And, you can't do a second home and you can't do some condos and so on and so forth. It's not designed for second homes. It's got to be your primary residence. You got to live in it for at least 6 months out of the year. And it will never affect Social Security and Medicare unless you're on Medicaid. You should still do it if you're on Medicaid, but that's a separate issue. And we can talk an hour about Medicaid and about how attorneys use this to shield people's homes. That's a whole nother presentation. But the bottom line is it's not going to affect your Social Security. We're going to let our clients, those clients, keep the title of their home. We're not, everybody says, well, the bank will take the house, the government will take the house. We don't want houses. We want to lend money and collect interest. We're not interested in owning houses. We're not landlords. So you keep the title of your home, which means you got to pay the taxes, you got to pay the insurance, you got to pay the upkeep. We don't come and fix your broken pipe or repair your roof or take care of your carpet or anything else. It's your house. In order to qualify, you have to have basic credit and income qualifications. This was not done in the beginning, and that was a problem because too many people came into the program who were not able to pay their taxes and insurance, and then they lost their houses, and it was all over the news media, especially after 2008. Look at all these people that lost their houses. It's because they didn't pay their taxes. You cannot lose your house because you are guaranteed never to have a monthly payment no matter what. Guaranteed. And so, and we'll give you between 30 and 75% of the value of your home. 30% if you have a young wife or a young husband, 50% if you're 62, and 74% if you're 90. So it goes according to your age as to how much we give you. So most people get about 50%. So if I've got a $500,000 house, I'm going to have access to about $250,000. You say, well, what happened to the other $250,000? You still own your house. It's just equity. You got $250,000 worth of equity, and you got $250,000 worth of cash, and you're still guaranteed to live in your house no matter what, even if you live to be 150. That is stated in the mortgage papers. This loan is not due until death, when you permanently move out of the house or sell it, or when you reach your 150th birthday, whichever comes first. So you are guaranteed never to lose living in your home as long as you want, and you can sell it whenever you want. There's no prepayment penalty. Now, you're still responsible for all the maintenance, the taxes, and insurance, just like if your house was paid off. There's no change from that perspective because you own the house, but you have access to that money without paying it back. And people say, well, then I'll just go get a home equity loan. No, home equity loans do not do this. Home equity loans require payments. Borrow 100 grand, pay back 125 or 150. It can be called, it can be frozen. It's not the case with a reverse mortgage. It is guaranteed to be liquid money no matter what, and you never have to make a monthly payment unless you want to for tax purposes, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have acquisition indebtedness. I'm going to use it to shield money coming out of a 401k. So that is critical to understand that you can make payments if you wish. And some people are going to, like me, to save money on taxes and still have access to it. Now, so there's no repayment required until the last living borrower permanently leaves the house, but you never owe more than the home value, no matter what. So my uncle dies in 2009, 94 years old. He owes $30,000 more on his house than what it's worth. He's not worried about it, of course, he's dead, but what about the heirs? Well, the heirs have access to $300,000 in an inheritance because he used the money out of his house instead of using the money out of bucket 2. So his heirs get the 300 grand. FHA pays the losses on the house. He didn't even pay closing costs. He didn't even pay most of his interest. He won the game. And some people would say, well, he lost the game because all his equity was gone. He still had all the money in bucket 2. It didn't matter. If I lose $1 in bucket 2 and I gain $3, or if I lose $1 in bucket 3 in my home equity and I gain $2 or $3 in bucket 2, I don't care. He didn't either. At 94 years old, he was one of my first clients. He drops over of a heart attack in his backyard at 94, just like he wanted to be at his house until his dying day. And he still had that other $300,000 that went to his heirs. FHA paid the difference and he lost nothing and there was no tax consequences. So you're guaranteed not to lose. You're not guaranteed to win. We don't know the value of your house next year, saying nothing about 20, 30 years into the future, but you're guaranteed not to lose no matter what. Now, you can also purchase a home. So if somebody's moving from one area to another area, we just had a client in Denver who moved from a $500,000 house that they sold for cash in Dallas, a Southwest airline pilot, moved up to, in fact, it was one of the classmates, Brad, that I worked with you on years ago. And so the Southwest airline pilot moves up there and he's looking for a house in Denver for 500 grand. That's pretty hard to find a nice house in Denver for 500 grand. Yep. And so the advisor told them about what he had learned at the exact class that we were dealing with. And the advisor said, hey, why don't you do a reverse mortgage? He said, I don't want one of those because those are for poor people. He said, just a minute. I went to this class and, learned some stuff. And will you listen to this guy? So I got on a call with the financial advisor and said, hey, and he said, listen, I got over $2 million in investments. I don't need a reverse mortgage. So talk to me about another mortgage maybe, but don't talk to me about a reverse mortgage. And I said, okay, that's up to you, but I'm going to do a reverse mortgage. And I fly Southwest a lot, and I kind of helped you with the money that you're making. And so I'd like you to give me 10 minutes to talk about this. He opened his mind. We talked to him. He ended up buying a $750,000 house for half down, which was only $375, gave the other $125 to the advisor that was at your class, that they started with a whole plan on life insurance and all of the other things. And we're also giving him a bunch of tax deductions where he can pull over $500,000 out of his IRAs completely tax-free. You got to come to the class in Las Vegas to go into more details on that.
That advisor was Sam, right?
That was Sam. Thank you.
Yep,
yes.
Good.
That's very interesting because I had a conversation. We were talking about Colorado, yes?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
yes,
I had a conversation with Sam because his broker dealer was absolutely negative on being able to do reverse mortgages, and he just decided that as a fiduciary, with a fiduciary responsibility, that he had to basically invalidate their position and help the client to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. And
exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Huge, and that's important, is that, in fact, I work with another advisor, Jim Silbernagel, who does a lot of stuff with NAFA. He told his broker-dealer, I want you to read this information that was written by Jamie Hopkins, an attorney, and I'm a CFP, you hold me harmless if I get sued at any time in the future because I did not talk about one of the most important things in research right now with one of the biggest assets. They waived the whole restriction. Nice. So the issue is as long as we're concerned about helping the client more than we're concerned about commissions or selling mortgages, and we can show that the client is better off, isn't that what our job is? And that's really the thing that we want to work toward in that situation. So guaranteed never to owe more than the home value, but if there's money left, if everything ends up well and it's good, the money goes to the kids. If there's no money left, the bill goes to FHA. So there is no possibility of losing, and the less money that I always tell people, hey, if you're taking notes, write this down. The more money that people send to bucket 3, the less money they have to put into bucket 2. And I want to put more money in bucket 2 because your bucket is more valuable than our bucket. Why do people want to give us so much money when all we do is save them 3% interest? It doesn't make sense.
What I just did is I pulled out my financial calendar and I took an arbitrary $40,000 a year of mortgage payment, which is a little bit more than $3,000 a month, and I invested it at 5%, and I wind up with a bucket of $5 million in a 40-year time period that otherwise would not have been there.
Exactly.
And I understand enough about debt to understand that it's inflation that pushes up the value of my house, not my mortgage payment. All my mortgage payment is okay, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Amen. You've got it right there. You guys can do more. All you got to do is beat illiquid 3%. I mean, that's a low bar. And so I have no problem giving my money to you than giving money to my own industry, because I know that my own industry is not going to get there. I've been hoping for this reverse mortgage for the 18 years that I've been doing this. I've done it for over 1,000 other people. Now I can finally do it for myself, where I don't have to continue sending money to bucket 3. And we need to think about people below 62. So you might say, well, this is just for my 62 plus clients. No, this is for people that are in their 40s and 50s. Why are they making extra payments on their mortgage, and why do they have 15-year mortgages? We refinance people all the time out of 15-year mortgages, even though they're cheaper, and put them into a 30-year mortgage. Why? So they can put more money in bucket 2 during their prime earning years. I refinanced. As soon as I understood this, I refinanced at 43 into a 30-year mortgage, and I paid the least amount possible so I could put more money in bucket 2. Because of that, my net worth is higher at 61 years old than if I would have paid off my house back in my 40s. There isn't any question. It's math. It's not a question of whether or not this works.
But Harlan, the psychological issue of, well, but at least I know I've got my house paid for. At least I know I've got a roof over my head. Because most people, and this kind of goes to the buy term and invest the difference conversation,
Yep.
Most people don't necessarily take that extra money and invest it someplace else, even though theoretically they can get a higher rate of return. So how do you deal with that?
Well, most people that have money, if you give them a track to run on, they are not going to be foolish. Financial advisors are not going to be dealing with wasters, because wasters don't have any money to invest. They're always blowing it on the snowmobiles or the motorcycles or the latest toy, or going and buying more stuff at Walmart. We're not going to be able to help those people very much because they don't have any money to invest. But most people in that top 50% are smart and say, okay, Harlan, instead of taking this 30-year mortgage or this 15-year mortgage and making extra payments, let's take that $1,500 and put it here, and then you show me where that $1,500 is going. That's all I needed to see. And then, of course, my wife said, you're not doing anything else with that $1,500, it's going there. But if you detect that you've got a client in their 30s or 40s that is a waster, well, let them have a 15-year mortgage, give them a 10-year mortgage, so at least they have their house. But the number of people that I've seen, Simon, that are just wasters and will not put money away for the future, it's more a question of, I understand life insurance and I understand putting money away for the future, but I don't have any money to put away because I'm too busy paying off my house, because that's what Dave Ramsey said at the church thing that I went to a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So if we explain to people how this works together, then, and give them a motivation to see what life insurance does and to see what an annuity does, to see what their 401k does, it changes their whole thought process and helps them, quite frankly, with the taxation issue. But now, that's excellent.
And I think the taxation issue, especially with conversion of qualified plan money, is a brilliant thought process and overtly simple. Now, I don't think we're going to have the time to be able to go to the fact that you now have reverse mortgages for 55-year-olds and up, not just over 62-year-olds. Are you going to do that at the meeting that we've got in Las Vegas in a few weeks?
Well, I am, and let me clarify this. This is something we need to be planning, this retirement mortgage, like my son. My son called me in March when my last son bought his house here in the Minneapolis area at Eden Prairie. And he called me up when he got done with it. And he said, man, I had to sign a lot of papers. It's crazy how, Fairway's got all these papers to sign and everything else. And he said, I'm now a new homeowner. And I said, congratulations, Josh. He's 31 years old. And him and Bridget called me in the car. Excuse me. And he said, Dad, I just want you to know, I started on my own reverse mortgage. And even I had to stop for a second. Well, wait, Josh, you're 31. You can't get a reverse mortgage. We just got you a 30-year mortgage. And he said, Dad, I've been listening to you long enough. I'm putting money into my house over the next 30 years. And when I get to 62, I'm going to be able to take it out. I just started on my reverse mortgage. Now, how many people have that understanding? Obviously, he lived with me, and he's for half his life, he's been pounded into him about reverse mortgages because that's all I ever talk about. And he even came to some of my training sessions and so on. So he understands how that works. But we are working on a product right now, a proprietary product with Fairway, specifically that is going to go down to as low as 50, maybe 45, that will do an interest-only mortgage that will automatically convert to a reverse at 62 or 60 or 65, depending upon how the numbers work out. So people will be able to put in the least amount into bucket 3 so they can put more into bucket 2 for their benefit and a better retirement. We can change the way retirement is done in this country together, because mortgages have been boring for a long time. 15 or 30, which one do you want? Well, just a minute. What about a hybrid that you pay interest only, the minimum amount possible, as long as you're putting in more money in bucket 2? We cannot do this without the cooperation of financial advisors because we can't invest their money. So That's what we want to do, is get them to the point that, okay, now you're at 62, you can take out a lump sum depending upon your equity, you can take out a line of credit, you can take out a monthly check. Which one do you want, what fits in accordingly to be able to make sure that they have a better retirement throughout the time period. Now, I know I'm running out of time. Go ahead.
That's okay. I'm assuming that in this voluminous amount of paper that your son talked about and just having to get a regular mortgage, I'm assuming that there's lots of disclosure statements as to what the intention of the use of the money is and what could be done and what should be done and what shouldn't be done, et cetera. Because, once again, we're in a very litigious world. So can you kind of speak briefly to that? Because I'm getting more and more interested.
Well, not only do we have a voluminous amount of disclosures, obviously from a legal perspective, it's close to 100 pages for a reverse mortgage. It's nuts. And on top of it, it's a government mortgage. So you got all the FHA papers from the Federal Housing Administration and HUD.
Wait. It's a government mortgage.
It's a private mortgage that is guaranteed by the government. It's our money. So we're using the money, but it's guaranteed by the mortgage insurance, which is why a reverse mortgage is more expensive than a regular mortgage, because you have to give up 2% of your equity to get into the program to the FHA mortgage insurance program, which is run by actuaries, private actuaries, that make sure that we're covering people that are upside down, like my uncle who dies at 94. So that's the only difference, and that's only the government can guarantee this because it's a nonprofit fund, and so it's guaranteed to be revenue neutral. For the government enhancements.
Talk to me about Fairway. Talk to me about the number of employees you've got, the number of loans you make, the sum total of the loans, and how does Fairway make money? Because it sounds like all they're doing is a service, and I know that's not what it is.
Yeah, Fairway, we're just out there to help people and love people, and we're just doing this for fun. No, we obviously make money on selling the paper, and we hold some of the loans ourselves. We do 15,000. We have 15,000 unique clients per month. We'll end up at about 80 billion this year. We're one of the top 5 lenders in the country. Most people have not heard of us because we're a private company. We're actually an ESOP, so we're owned by our 10,500 employees. We have 600 offices nationwide in everything from small towns to Boston and New York and LA and everything in between. The bottom line is that we are oriented toward doing a heavy amount of veteran loans. We have nonprofits where we help called the American Warrior Initiative, where we help the warriors. We participate heavily in things like the Alzheimer's Walk. We're very altruistic, but we do make money on selling the paper, because think about it, insurance companies buy these loans because this is a zero coupon bond. So we're selling a mortgage that is not paid until 10, 20, 30 years into the future. So this is a very popular investment. So you guys are selling these investments for us all the time. We get the money from you guys because the investors are funding this and paying us to do these loans.
If I remember correctly, there's no compensation paid on these loans to financial planners. Am I right on that, or am I wrong?
Nope, you're 100% correct. There's a couple of companies that have tried doing that. I think it's 100% dangerous, and the chance of there being problems with FINRA, CFPB, any kind of regulatory agency, it's nuts. We will not take, Fairway will never take any compensation from any financial advisors. We will not allow any of our people to sell financial products, or even if they have an insurance license or Series 667, anything else, they cannot get any compensation on anything besides a mortgage. And we do not pay out any compensation because, quite frankly, I mean, let's just talk about one financial advisor that I just talked to last week from a relatively large 150-year-old insurance company. The guy started working with one of our advisors in January of this year. And he had 20, so far there's been 20 loans done under the guidance of his the oversight of the compliance people. He's converted over $2 million a year in cash flow moving back into assets under management and insurance products because people stopped making mortgage payments. He's got a pretty big practice with 3 or 4 advisors, but just about everybody that's listening to this call has 44% of their clients over 62 making mortgage payments, and over 50% of their people that are over 50 making 15-year mortgage payments, so they can't give as much money to you for their own detriment. This is not about making more money for financial advisors. This is about helping our clients, and it is inefficient to put too much money into bucket 3. So in a roundabout answer to your question, any advisor that follows the system and redirects some of the $9.2 trillion that's doing nothing, like somebody like me that's sending $35,000, $40,000 to the wrong place, that will hurt me, but it also hurts the advisor. Advisors will make more money if I give them the $40,000 instead of sending it to pay off my mortgage when I don't have to. And I always ask people the same question: what is the purpose of making a mortgage payment when you don't have to? Why are you doing it? Why are you sending your mortgage payment? What's the purpose of sending a mortgage payment to us? To save 3%? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Again, it's all emotional and psychological. And that's what my book covers that Brad mentioned, Home Equity and Reverse Mortgage, the Cinderella of the Baby Boomer Retirement. It handles that psychology, and we give it away. I'm not interested in selling books. We give it away to your clients that they can read it, that they come back to you and realize the value of bucket 2. We talk about bucket 1, 2, and 3.
And again, I don't know the answer to this. Are you giving it away to people who attend our meeting, or
Absolutely.
basically clients?
I'll have boxes of them out in Las Vegas, and they will be free. And you can buy them on Amazon for 18 bucks, or you can get them from me for free. Do some cost benefit analysis on that.
Harlan,
so I could use that money to pay the tax on my Roth conversion, the money that I'm not spending on your book also.
There, always thinking tax savings, which is what the center's all about. Listen, Harlan, we could have this thing go on for another 4 hours. I know you never run out of material or content. We're so happy that you're going to be able to be at our Live Academy event. Harlan is a fine example of the quality of folks that come and spend time with our members and guests at these live events, as well as the virtual. You will walk away with ideas, concepts, and mind-changing direction that is almost impossible to find anywhere else in the industry. We talk a lot about the center because, I mean, really the only training that you see advertised is from an IMO or a broker dealer, and it's almost always product specific. What we do is the general education that can lead to larger cases, better engagements, and an increase of your market reach with your existing clients as well as prospects. With that, we're going to put an end to the webinar here. Again, you do not want to miss Orlando. It is going to be an amazing 3-day program. Get to meet and rub shoulders with some of the best people in our industry, get a lot of ideas and concepts that will help make your 2022 substantially better than 21, and we would love to be part of that for you. So more information, give us a call, 877-258-2837, or email us at thecenterteam@yourctsr.com. Again, if you go to our website, just type in, you can type it all out, but it's better to just type in yourctsr.com, www, and you'll see an event tab, and all the information will be up on there for getting registered for Orlando. By the way, you might want to move quick on it. It's been a while since we've done live shows. We were doing virtual. The demand's been really good, and because of spacing and everything else to be smart in Florida, we're going to we have a limit to the number of people we can get in. So get yourself registered, and we will see you in Orlando. Kick your year off with something very, very positive.
Harlan, thanks again for your time. It's very, very enlightening. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. Brad, thank you too.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.